welcome to the channel. This is a channel where I just talk about what's going on in my head about DC. I try to be different, the channel tries to be different and be more of a personal thing on a one-to-one basis where you guys and girls get to talk to myself through the comments and whatnot. And if the channel ever gets bigger, then I can possibly go live and talk to you one-on-one. I have very little technology, so there won't be anything flashy coming up on the screen or anything like that. Okay, so recently Ray Fisher, I spoke about it in my previous video. He came up and accused Geoff Johns of basically not doing a thing to help when he came with his manager and talked about the grievances that he had working under Joss Whedon. And I believe he wasn't just going to talk about himself, but of others, cast and crew. And so some individual had posted that he'd actually looked up on the tweet, and it deems that, and this is what he wrote. So I felt that this deserves a separate post. Somebody on another forum pointed out that the latest tweet by Fisher actually accuses John of committing a crime. Fisher says that he tried to take his grievance up to the proper channels and for doing so got threatened by Johns. Well, this constitutes as workplace retaliation, which is illegal in the state of California. Fisher specifically specifying that it happened in LA is no accident. John's action also violate federal equal employment opportunity laws. Lastly, Fisher was able to post this because NDAs do not cover criminal behaviour. So what does that mean? Now, let's go back in time, okay? And I'm just going to, my first introduction to Geoff Johns has got to be his, I kept on seeing his face when it came to interviews about DC comic storylines and stuff, and I started to notice his name on books that I loved very much so. He seemed to have captured most of what I saw the character as being. And when I seen so many interviews on Geoff Johns, I liked his background. He seemed to be quite easygoing, and he had this passion for comics, and he worked under Richard Donner and stuff, and when he was making Superman. So to now be, at a very young age, I would believe, to be given all these powers to work in DC Comics must have been great. And we saw him when he was talking about the future of the DC movies and with Kevin Smith and how he was going to, they're going to go ahead with all these films and how everything's going to be great in the forefront. So he must have been really excited at that time. But then as my favourite film came out, BVS, under scrutiny by the studios, and it was hammered, it was cut down until we got the Ultimate Edition. It was a backfire at Warner Brothers Studios because it was their own fault, let's put it that way. Because they should not have cut that movie, and the film was not far from being a flop. But again, this was all looking in comparison of Marvel. Christopher Nolan and Zack Snyder was both said that DC shouldn't follow the Marvel formula, and they should go out because they are totally different characters than Marvel. But Geoff Johns, we seem to believe that he was also he he was well known to Kevin Feige, and I think it was, I don't know what sort of tribute it was. It could have been a Lethal Weapon tribute. It could have been a Richard Donner. I believe it was a Richard Donner tribute or something like that. Well, Kevin Feige and Geoff Johns stood together and they talked. Kevin Feige, of course, kept on bringing up what he bases all his films on and whatnot. But the two of them seem to have got on pretty well. But now it's starting to look like Geoff Johns had a problem, had an issue. He's seen all the stuff that Kevin Feige was awarded and everything else. And to be honest, I don't honestly think he deserves that much praise. And I'll get onto that on another video. And so we're at this stage where Geoff Johns now kind of jealous of the Marvel movies taking off, and he's passionate about DC Comics. I'll never say that he's not passionate about DC Comics, but he's made a big mistake. He has made a big, and this is what tends to happen when you have people that have been given power when they're not ready for it. You know, we've all worked under managements, good and bad, and they've all got their different ways of getting their workforce to come together and to produce some of the best stuff out there for the company. But Geoff Johns has seen and kept on comparing, and he had his vision of DC movies. Now, because he had previously done TV shows, some episodes were pretty good. I believe Stargirl now is Pride and Joy and stuff. He believed himself to be all-knowing and all-powerful, knows what's best for DC. But when he helped put together Superman Returns, it fell flat. Green Lantern fell flat. Why? Because both of those movies were either based on something that's outdated and a formula quite like Marvel. And what I believe DC should have stuck to the guns with was try to break this mould that of Christopher Reeve's Superman, which they did in Man of Steel, and they showed Superman being a different type of character. And when I say a different type, I just mean a different look at, a different perspective of the man. And it was fresh, it was new, and I always remember people sitting beside us and they were talking about, I've never seen Superman this way before, he's more interesting to me now. And then we come across Batman versus Superman, where it was more serious and taking our characters down a serious path, and to me was great fun seeing that, and hence the word fun, because as a child and whatnot, sometimes you want to be taken serious. You know, as a child, sometimes you don't want to be just seen, or you're only so-called years old and so-called that. Kids can watch, a more mature film and feel great about it. It can be more uplifting, especially when they talk about the film afterwards to either the grown-ups and whatnot. And it's a film that grown-ups can really appreciate it. Recently, on my last videos, I talked about the CEO of Warner Brothers and how he wants to make it different from Disney Plus. Disney Plus is really for young families oriented, and of course they're going to get the money because they're very young kids and adults. But HBO again doesn't need to do that. Their shows mainly focus on the mature, the adult versions, and this is why Zack Snyder's Justice League is a great place for that. So, what does all this mean for Geoff Johns? Well, Geoff Johns, even though he has his heart on DC Comics, for me, he has never seen comics for the adult, for the mature. He has his vision as he writes the comic books, as many authors have done. I mean, many authors that wrote Superman stories, but that's their take on that character. And why these characters strive so long is because you have different people that approach the characters in different ways. And it's up to you to choose which one you like the best. Do you like the version of the Batman from the 60s, the Batman from Tim Burton, the animated series, the Christopher Nolan Batman, my Batman, Ben Affleck, or do you, but you get to choose this. And this is why I believe DC fandom is opening this and bringing everyone together to show that it's cool to love every DC character that's there. And we celebrate your hero. Because when I remember joining a group, and you always have somebody's definition of the superhero, right? You always have somebody's preference to a superhero, right? That's not Superman, that's not Christopher Reeve, and all that sort of stuff. And some people might feel guilty feeling that way. And it's not. You're still loving the character. It's okay to love other characters else. But again, Geoff Johns has I think, made the biggest mistake, and he only seen his vision. And when he grabbed Joss Whedon into the fold, he thought he was doing DC fans a massive favour by bringing somebody that could do something of a Marvel formula, like tongue-in-cheek and all that sort of stuff, bring it down to kiddie level, and make it fun for all the family to make money in business. Not knowing that by him being the so-called guy in charge, he's telling, let's put it this way, if he was in the comic books and he had writers working for him and storytellers, he's actually telling these people what to do, what to write, and everything else. Does that sound familiar? Does it? That's Kevin Feige. That's Kevin Feige, left, right and centre. That's what he's doing. Now, I firmly believe that I'm surprised. No, I'm not surprised, because we don't have somebody like Ray Fisher on Marvel Studios side. We don't have somebody like Ray Fisher working in a Marvel movie that has the balls, has the guts to stand up for the rights. And I have seen it, and people have witnessed it, that he will talk down to directors live at Comic Cons when the directors want to make their own movies, and he'll go, "Excuse me, it's a PG-13 and you will like it." We've all seen his face. He controls everything. And you can just imagine what it'd be like on the set of a Marvel movie. Do you think it's all fun and games? I don't think so. And you can say, oh, but they all look happy and everything else. And so did Joss Whedon. He looked a nice guy too. Ellen DeGeneres and their team, that seemed to be a lively, good show. Yep. So did Bill Cosby. So did so many thousands and thousands of people around the world in the entertainment industry that we loved and we thought that we knew, only to find out that we didn't. And I, for one, love, right, Geoff Johns' work. But I can honestly believe that when all these reshoots and everything else was going on, he was craving more power. And he felt like it was his responsibility to save something that didn't need saving. He brought on Joss Whedon. There were reports of him going behind Zack Snyder's back, trying to get him out, trying to get him to see spend time with his family and everything else. And now you may say, oh, but that's just a genuine. No. Saying it and believing what you're doing with no other motive, that's completely different. As I said, for me, I believe that he's finished. There'll be supporters out there as well, and fans like I was with Geoff Johns' books, and there will always still be one of my best stories collection. But I've got to face facts. The guy that's in front of the camera is not the same guy behind the camera, and that's why he was demoted. Warner Brothers tried to save face. They probably got wind of this, and he was no longer the real man in charge. And we have people like Jim Lee, and we've already seen, people that have now, the figureheads, the people that said no to a lot of things, they're out of the picture, and we seem to have a better team there. We seem to have better people with a greatest response to the fans. We had Jim Lee showing artwork for DC fandom that's given us hope above what's been going on with the DC Comics franchise and stuff like that. So these are the right people we have in charge now. And what the Zack Snyder movement did, and as I say, I posted for years on my Facebook page, turning negative into positive. And it was soul destroying at some points, because I was defending something that was destroying itself from the inside. And here's me trying to defend every action it takes, but no more. I will call out stuff that I believe in. And I think to have Geoff Johns' name on something will be something bad for DC. And what I want you all to remember is, Ray Fisher isn't a big celebrity. He's nobody just now. And I don't mean nobody. He doesn't have the same, fandom thing like somebody like Ben Affleck or Al Pacino or anything like that. He's just an actor that's just getting started on the rails. So it takes guts for him to do what he's doing. And it's more noticeable now for us to stand up and defend him. And we should, and this was what was said at the Oscars, when Ricky Gervais basically put down most of the stars there. Even Joaquin Phoenix did a wee bit of that. That they're all fake. There's talks about Tom Hanks not being as good as you think he is. So it's these people craving for power, craving for fame, and they want to keep it. They want to hold it. They don't want to jeopardise anything. They don't want to show that they're hard to work with. Maybe it's the people that it's hard to work with are the ones that are speaking for us, speaking for everybody on the set, speaking for justice. So I'm glad that this is happening. I am glad, and for the sake of Ray Fisher and everyone else, and we've got to remember people are hurt during this process. He may be coming up and speaking up against Geoff Johns and people and Joss Whedon, people that you like, but I want you to take a step back and think, for somebody to do this, how many other people did they harm in the process? How many people are scared to step forward? For me, it just makes this film and Zack and everyone involved in this movie just that much more important. Thank you for watching. Please like, subscribe, keep me going. Thank you very much.